Hey, nature photographers, it's Lee Hoy. And what lake is this?
Lake Erie.
Yeah, we're on the shores of Lake Erie out here at the biggest week in birding. We are here for the festival. Wildside Nature Tours is one of the biggest sponsors. And in a minute, I'm going to get to share with you one of my favorite peoples, another OM System ambassador. Yes. And stay tuned. When we come right back, I'm going to get to talk to Emilie Talpin, OM System ambassador, great friend, and a Wildside office manager.
See you soon. I should have said see you soon. No, we're good. Get that.
You want that?
No.
Okay. Howdy from West Texas. I'm Lee Hoy, professional nature photographer, and this is my YouTube channel, Lee Hoy Photography. I'm an OM System ambassador, photography workshop instructor for Wildside Nature Tours of Precision Camera and Video, and contributing author for the Journal of Wildlife Photography. Hey guys, again, it's Lee Hoy. Welcome to my channel, and if you don't know, I'm the redneck photographer, and this is the French lesbian.
That's
we make
right.
a great couple when it comes to photography.
Unusual couple.
And,
Very unusual.
do you think that's unusual?
Yeah, they call it like kind of the hybrid couple, the rare bird. They would definitely
Yeah.
stop
That
for
might
us.
be, but to me, it doesn't seem that odd. But no, whatever. Well, so Emilie and I are going to talk to you about some OM System things. We've been really enjoying getting to shoot here the past couple of days in Ohio, and we've got a lot of folks that have been out on the boardwalk with the 150 to 400. It's kind of cool.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a lot more of those in the field.
A lot of OM System users. I'm like, oh, that's one. Like, it's easy to spot them. That
Yeah.
the red blackbird thingy. I don't even know how to call them.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We're not here to identify birds. We're here to photograph them.
It's been a long couple of weeks with a lot of places that Wildside Nature Tour has been on the road for too. It's been fun. So
Yeah, I just came back from Cuba and Patagonia scouting there, and we've had a lot of our groups. We've got several folks getting ready to head to Grand Teton. We've got some Yellowstone stuff coming up. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Bender's been in Japan, and Emilie's putting together a workshop for France. You just went to
yes.
France, right? So let me ask Emilie.
Puffin tour with Lisa
Puffin tour?
Kuchera. You have the
That's
Panama
right.
tour with Chris. I want to have you on my channel with Chris.
Yeah, we got to
talking
do that.
about
Talk about macro. So,
gonna
guys,
be
if you
fun.
don't know, Emilie Talpin, I don't recommend a ton of channels on here because I don't want to be the constantly promoting stuff. But Emilie Talpin Photography YouTube channel, if you shoot OM System or you just like shooting nature photography in general, hop over there. I've never asked for you to subscribe to my channel, but I'm going to ask you, go subscribe to hers and check it out. Now, Emilie, yeah, look at there. That's my buddy right there. One of the things I like about Emilie is she does some photography things that I don't really do much. You do water drop photography, and you've done a presentation on that for Wildside, which people can go out there and view on the Wildside website. But Emilie, let's talk about when you're out in the field for a minute, okay? Because we don't shoot the exact same thing, even though there's some overlap. But why don't you tell folks, okay, if I limited you to 2 lenses on a trip, what are your top 2 lenses?
Do you have to do that to me?
Yes.
Number one
I
question.
didn't tell you any of these questions, but you have to answer them. That's the
Okay.
rule.
So that's very easy because those are my 2 favorite lenses. The 150-400, my go-to. It's with me all the time. You saw me at the restaurant. I have it with me. I think the only
Yes.
time I don't have it with me is when I go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you did leave it at the table.
I
That's
did leave
probably
it at
a
the
good
table.
thing.
That
Yeah.
That's it. But otherwise, I have this lens with me all the time because it's great for wildlife.
Yeah.
I love, and I mean, we're surrounded. And even when you go to your mailbox, you never know what you're gonna see. I do walk with the 150-400 to go to my mailbox, I admit.
Do you really?
I do.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not that nutty.
I have a problem.
Yeah, I think you have a problem.
I think
Yeah.
there is a club for this.
I think so. Yeah. We're not going to mention the name of that club, but there is one for it.
No. That's
Well, so
that's
what's
good
the
idea.
second lens then?
The second lens is my macro lens, the
I knew
90
you were gonna say that.
millimeter. I love this lens. It's one of the most brilliant lenses that they made, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It really revolutionized the way that I shoot macro. And I thought, this lens is bigger. I like the 60 millimeter macro. I love this lens. But the 90, it's with me all the time. It's
Do you ever
in my
put
bag.
the extension tubes on there for greater magnification?
I don't, because the magnification is already, so impressive with the 90 millimeter macro. What is it, 2 times, but
2
4
times.
times if. So I don't need it more. But what I like is that, I manually focus, but you can also let the camera focus for you. So it's autofocus, which is
Yeah.
amazing for that type of magnification. And then it just let me compose the shot the way I want it. So it really changed the way I shoot macro. I think with the 60, there is a little, that little lever.
Yep.
And I think I've talked to a lot of people in the field that have issues with how to shoot with the 60.
Sure.
So to me, if you have issue with the 60, the 90 is going to be your go-to lens. It's just so easy. It eases you into the way of macro photography.
So I haven't done many videos really on macro yet, but why don't you do this? When you're using the 90, what is your autofocus point configuration, whether you're using the OM1 or the OM1 Mark II?
I usually have 1 point focusing for the macro, but as you said, maybe 99.9% of the time, I manually focus. So I look very strange because I'm going to be in people's garden. They're going to see me with my setup, and this is how I'm going to acquire the focus. Like, honestly, most of the time, that's what I do. But if you are new to macro photography, then that might not be the best thing to do, and you might be very, very comfortable with the autofocusing. So
you're using the single point or the small box?
The single point.
Oh, okay. Yep,
yeah.
Yep, okay.
And I just...
Do you usually try to acquire autofocus first and then move around, or do you just go to trying to find?
Yeah, I just go and try to find.
Are you spinning the manual ring to try to use focus peaking, or are you just eyeballing it?
It sounds strange, but I've been...
You're French, you sound strange this whole freaking video.
And we don't have a translator for anybody.
No, we have no translator for you or my Texas slurry accent, so good luck understanding this one.
Sorry, I am so sorry. I'm doing my best.
You're doing fine.
This is staying. But
later we have to go work the booth.
The booth, that's what it's called. I don't know why you guys make it so complicated with the TH. It's so weird, and then you spray people. It's weird.
It is weird.
Booth.
The booth.
I think all Americans should try that. Don't do that. Do the so much better.
That is better.
So much better.
There you go.
We're gonna have our own language. We should have our...
I think we kind of already do.
Yeah,
I think so. So when you're using focus peaking, you try to set it, and then you'll just, as you notice it's moving off your subject, you're just adjusting your body position.
I just know when I'm moving, and I regulate my breathing. So I just... do the back and forth, and then when I know I'm in the range, I stop my breathing, and I just know. Plus, I shoot with like an aperture of f/16 when I do all the insect, so I think it works well. Like usually I have, and you take as many photos as you want, right?
Well, now that's a question. Are you shooting flash or no?
I shoot flash.
And so what do you put your drive mode on? Do you have it on single or sequential?
I do single,
okay,
but I will take multiple shots, and I'll keep on going back and forth. But I would say that most of the time now I'm very, very comfortable with that lens and that setup, and I know when I have the eye of my subject in focus. But you can use focus peaking if you are on a tripod, if you have a subject that's not moving. You can also use the magnification. So I have those two front buttons. Actually, I should have my camera is in the car right now, but it's those two front buttons that I have for magnification, and so focus peaking is the top and magnification is the bottom.
Okay.
You don't? I know you
I
don't
use
those
either
buttons.
front button. I program both front buttons off because I found that my fingers just constantly accidentally hit them, and it was aggravating me. Yeah. I wish I didn't do that because I think it would be you're gonna make fun of my finger length.
That's the difference. I can do that, but I understand.
Maybe not. I turn them all off. But I think for people that don't accidentally hit them, I think they're a very powerful feature.
Yes.
And for macro, that would be very beneficial. So now, do you ever use a tripod when you're doing your macro photography, or are you always handheld?
For bugs, I'm always handheld.
Me too.
When I'm in the field, I'm nearly always handheld. When I do work inside, like all the refraction, then yes, I use a tripod.
I only use a tripod if I'm using the 150 to 400 for dragonflies and damselflies, but otherwise I am completely handheld with the 90 or the 60. Because frankly, we got our shutter speed and the focal length. There's no problem. And using flash, we're freezing it anyway. So, what are a couple other things when you go out to do macro photography? What are some other tips or tricks with either the OM1, the M1 Mark II, or even the M1X or M1 III? What are some of the things about macro photography that you've been telling people?
Flash. You need a flash and a diffuser. I've seen people with a flash, no diffusers. No, this is not going to work out. You're going to have those hot spots. It's not going to be a pleasing image. You want your life. You want your life to be balanced, and
Yeah.
that's why you want a diffuser, because you want your image to be, you want the light to be spread equally, and that's why I use a diffuser.
And which one do you use?
I use the AK diffuser.
That's right. We have an affiliate link down below, but actually since this is videos with her, go to her YouTube channel and use her AK diffuser affiliate. And he already knows the measurements for the OM1, the OM1 Mark II, probably the M1X and the Mark III with the 90 millimeters. So, and the thing I like about that is how it folds up. It collapses real well. I've traveled without it getting damaged, and I find that it diffuses the light really well. I don't even use the bottom. Do you use the bottom part underneath
the lens?
No, I
don't. But for Beetles, it makes it better. You have less of a shine.
Does, yeah.
And
the only thing is, I find that I too often hit vegetation or stuff with
that's
it.
True.
It's got a positive in that it does diffuse the light a little bit better. And for those super glossy insects, I find that it's better. But I also find I tend to spook subjects a little more.
That's true.
I think I would use it more often in a white box in the house, where I have a little more control over the surrounding vegetation. But I do like him. I do think I like his build and everything. So yeah, the AK. And which flash do you like? The 700 or the 900?
I like the 700.
Yeah, me too.
Small, compact, it's easy. The only thing that I would like for maybe a future flash, I don't know if OM system is doing anything.
If you're listening, guys, this is some recommendations on the flash OM system.
I would like a flash with a lithium battery, so I can just like plug it in.
Like the Godox that has that.
Yes, and I like that. But at the same time, someone else was saying, well, you know, those batteries, you find them anywhere. So it's true. It's not a big problem.
But you know, I found if you have two of those lithium, you can shoot all day.
Yes.
That's the nice thing. I shoot with the 700 as well for macro.
Yeah.
I find it's a little smaller and it's a little lighter, and I don't put a battery grip. Do you put a battery grip on your macro body?
Never.
Yeah, because for me, I feel like the lightweightness. I can shoot that camera with flash, with diffuser, with camera one-handed if I really need to.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, we got some martins chipping around and turkey vulture going
I
overhead.
know.
So
very nice.
What are some other things that you see beginning macro photographers? What are some other mistakes or tips that you feel like would really help them get a jump start? I think a lot of people want to do macro photography, but I really think like night sky, it's kind of intimidating because of flash. The subjects are so small. So help people if they really want to jump into macro. What are some things you'd tell them?
Don't be scared about the flash. It's the easiest thing to use. If you started with macro, just first of all your aperture, just put a f/16 and start there. And a lot of people are going to tell you diffraction. Just no, don't believe that. Just shoot at f/16.
Unless you're focus stacking, right?
Yes, exactly. If you're focus stacking, then yes, for sure, do a f2.8 or whatever, and then focus stack. But honestly, f/16 is usually, or f/18. I've shot even higher, and I've never had any issue with my camera. You can look at my photos. You can look at a lot of ambassadors' photos and tell us if you see a problem with our photos with diffraction. I think diffraction is has been made into
overblown.
Oh my God, so much. And so that's where you start. And then for the flash, just TTL. And that's why I have an OM system flash with my OM system camera. They communicate very well, and you're not going to have any problem. The flash is going to do all the work for you. And then if you decide that, that photo, I could actually tweak it a little bit, it should be a little bit brighter, then do a plus 0.3, plus 0.7, and that's how you can kind of increase the brightness of your image if you really need to pull your histogram to the right.
Don't you find with the AK diffuser, I generally add 1 1/3, generally somewhere between 1 and 1 1/3 stops of flash exposure compensation. If you know what that means we're forcing our flash to put out more light. So 1 1/3 stops, or 4 little clicks of the dial, if you will. Because you're diffusing the light, and that material, depending on which front you're using, may hold more or less light back. So I've always found TTL to slightly underexpose anyways.
I agree.
So I feel like it's important to add usually for me 1 to 1 1/3, depending on how bright the
Yes.
subject is or the
Yes.
surrounding leaf. Certain foliage guys will reflect a lot more light than others, and so you sometimes just got to, you take an image,
Tweak.
like I don't normally chimp. I make fun of people that chimp their images for wildlife,
It
but
does.
for
You do
macro,
of me,
yeah, I do. I
Aaron.
make fun of you. That's true. It's for
I
not just
chimp
that, but
from
other
time
things.
to time.
But for macro to really be getting your exposure correct, I do want to take a quick peek every now and then. And then once I got it dialed in, then I'm working on making sure I get a tack sharp shot.
I agree. And very often you have one subject, you're going to work a lot
Yes.
of minutes, hours maybe on the same subject. So, but yeah, take some, first test shot and see what you're getting and if you're happy with it. And then readjust with the flash. But the flash is really not complicated. Do not be scared. Get that FL-900 with the AK diffuser, and you're gonna be amazed at how much better your image are gonna be. I think it's one of the secret is really to control the light. That's what we are as photographer, right?
That's right. That's
we
right.
are trying to capture the best light we can, and so the diffuser and the flash, it's a must. And then practice, 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 practice. Be in the field. You're gonna take so many shots that are not gonna be good, especially if you're doing manual focusing. But that's how you progress.
Yes, yeah. One of the things I think about macro photography for people that are just getting into it, even for those who've been trying it for a while, I would say of all the nature photography genres, that macro and night sky probably require the most patience of all.
Oh yes.
So if you're one of those that tends to rush from subject to subject,
no.
macro is not going to be good for you. Because like you said, when you have a cooperative subject, because our focus, our leeway on focus is so small, right? When you find a good cooperative subject on a nice background with a nice flower or whatever, pretty foliage, whatever it is you're work it. Don't just take a couple of pictures and rush off.
No.
That's not going to produce beautiful
No.
macro images, is
I
it?
can spend hours and hours on just one subject in one area, a teeny tiny,
Yes.
garden. And that's just how you're gonna get the best shot. It's like, your first shot might not be. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah, right. Rarely is
Yeah.
it the first shot that you
No.
nail it. Now, with the image stabilization, the autofocus, and other things, it's easier than ever to nail it
Yes.
sooner. But still, so many
Yes.
times that you move just a little bit
And
and you're out of focus or
Yeah.
whatever. Now let me ask you this, because since you do a lot of macro like me, I know what my favorite accessory, non-camera wise, is for macro. Okay, do you know what
Yes.
mine is? What do you think my favorite non-camera or lens accessory for macro photography?
For macro photography, I don't know. Do you have
It's a knee pad.
a knee pad?
So I
Oh,
live out in the rocky
That is-
desert where there's cactus spines,
That is a
rocks,
good one.
and if you kneel down, sometimes even on little bitty rocks, it just feels like it cripples you. So what I found, I've experimented with a lot. I first bought some garden type knee pads, but they
Yes.
don't have the hard surface, so cactus spines and really
They
sharp
get
rocks go
stuck.
through.
Yes,
So I
I
learned
had
go
that
to the
Gardening
in Home
section.
Depot. No, not the gardening in Home Depot. Go to the where people put in tile ceramic
Oh.
because their knee pads have
Harder.
they're hard, so it'll
Oh.
give you more protection. And I also don't like little straps because I found they cut the blood flow
Oh,
off when I'm
yes,
knee. So I like the big Velcro ones that
Yes.
don't tend to cut into your skin. So that's my favorite. Whoops, I hit my microphone. That was going to be loud. That's my favorite non-camera accessory. What's yours?
Huh. I like to go so light that I don't really have like an accessory when I go out and shoot. That's my camera, my flash, and
What about
my.
do you carry your camera on a strap for macro?
I do when I walk to the location and then I take it
You
off.
take it off.
Yeah.
So
it's
see, there's your good
really-
tip. I agree. I prefer to just have it in my hand loose.
Yes.
when
If
I'm out
I
doing it.
do though, if I do focus stacking and held, then I'm going to also use the strap as a tension
Okay,
point.
sure.
So I could do that, but most of the time, you're right. The knee, now that you say that, it's a good point because you want to be comfortable because you're going to be spending a lot of time bending down, being in awkward positions,
Yep.
and so having knee pad is really important. I have actually the Frahaven pants. How to
The
pronounce Frahaven pants.
Fahlraven, since both of our accents booger that one up. But they do.
We'll
I like
spell
their
it correctly.
coats. They've got some good gear.
And knee pads.
What we're getting
you
a knee
put them
show.
here.
Oh, you slide your
look
knee
at
pad.
that.
Look at that.
Yes, you slide it under.
That is cool.
And actually, I don't have knee pads. I use my my wrap Z from Three Legged Things. So the little wraps that you put your camera in to protect them. Well, those guys actually work very well as
for
knee pads.
pads. There you go.
So
That's
I want
a
to tell
good.
Three Legged Thing. Now
Yeah.
you also need to sell those for knee pads.
Yeah, make
They're
some
great.
knee pads for macro photography. That would
They
be
do.
cool. That would be
They
great.
do
Yeah,
work
yeah.
well.
Someone should make some more like that.
So that's what I use, and I mean, sometimes having like a diffuser, because sometimes the angle that I shoot with, I have my diffuser on my flash, but I also want to also block the light and diffuse it. So you could have like an extra diffuser with a clamp. Clamps are pretty good as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
yeah.
That's a good one. Because sometimes if I see a backlit subject, I'm gonna turn the flash off, and you know, sometimes I use a flashlight, just depending on what kind of lighting scenario I create. But if I'm using a flash, there is always a diffuser on there, so
yes.
that's very
Yes.
important. What other kind of macro? What's one or two more macro tips that you'd say? Hey guys, you know, this is going to make it easier. I can think of one right now. It's pretty windy out here on the shores of Lake Erie. I have had days where I thought I was going to go out and do macro photography, and you walk out and you hear that the wind is whipping.
No.
So unless you have a place like between buildings or something, get out of the wind. That would be mine. Be flexible. If you've got a day planned for macro and the wind's whipping, you're just going to be frustrated unless you literally hold the flower, which is very tough because your hand moves a lot more and you realize, all right, what's a good macro tip you'd have for?
So, I mean, patient is everything. So, if you arrive at a location, you don't see any bugs, well, just spend 10 minutes and observe. And all of a sudden, you're going to see in that one bush, it's going to start being alive. So that's what I said. Don't miss an opportunity because you were too fast. Macro is all about patience and observing. So that's one thing. Just stay still and observe around you. And what I like about macro is you don't have to travel anywhere. It's right there.
That's true.
It's probably right under us right now. See how many of bugs we could find. So just get out and get out every day, every single day as well.
Yeah.
And practice. Because macro it's that. It's all about practicing to make sure that you started to understand where the focus you're gonna. For me, I don't know, it's really a feeling of I know this is where I'm gonna get the shot and this is when I press. I know it's kind of strange to explain, but when you're focusing manually, I think it works very well. So patience, being very well equipped as well. You might go out and a small walk and realize that 3 hours later you're still there. So hydrate, get your water, get your snacks, and also talk to your neighbors, talk to all the people around you, because that's what I like to do. I'm in a garden, in someone's garden. I'm going to make sure I have a contact with that person. I'm going to explain what I'm doing because sometimes they're like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And, oh, wow, do you know there is that bug over there and do you want to come over? And they come and invite you and see things. Yeah.
That's cool.
Or talk about birds. So that's a great way to find different subjects and have a better understanding of what's in your neighborhood. And I feel like having a camera is like having a dog. People will stop and socialize with you.
I get more questions when I'm doing macro because of the diffuser.
Yes.
Pardon me, what are you doing? You know, you're kneeling down, you look weird. We look weird anyways, but we look even weirder. You know, I think another thing for people, most people generally live within probably a reasonable drive of a botanical
garden.
And, you know, now the key thing is here, photographers, though, if you go to a botanical garden, please follow the rules.
Yes.
Don't walk on the flowers. If you would have to break a rule to get near a subject, that's not a viable subject. So let's help photographers have a good reputation, be responsible, be ethical. Don't walk on flowers to destroy them in order to get to a subject. But if you go to your botanical garden, you know, you'll find a lot of great subjects because they're often planting both natives and non-natives that are going to bring in all kinds of different insects. You know, a lot of people struggle with finding them. If you have a garden in your yard or whatever, it's amazing the number of things you can find at night. And a lot of subjects are more willing to let you get close at night. Lizards, like dart frogs, other frogs, you find them at night and they just sit perfectly still, letting you get inches away. So it's not as hard as people think finding subjects, but you do have to train your eye how to look differently than other subjects, right?
And also, one good thing is document. So document the things that you find and try to understand what is that subject. If you don't know something, iNaturalist, I find, is a great place.
It's a great resource for
you have a lot of
insect stuff.
scientists that are there, and I'm going to give you some pointers, and I'm going to help you identify, the bugs that you found, and also try to learn about the type of bugs. Well, that's that type of bush that's going to attract that type of insect. So kind of same as bird, right? You need to know where that type of subject is going to go and hang out to be able to find it. So, yes,
That's
as you
right.
say, botanical garden, the conservation centers very often have their pollinator garden. Fantastic.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
might have a pollinator garden right in your town, something that's quite popular. I prefer that than the botanical garden because some botanical gardens are like, you're a professional photographer,
Sure,
you
you
can't
have to
come
pay.
in.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
to pay
yeah.
to do that. And also, if you do flowers and you decide to use a tripod, then some botanical garden also don't want
Don't
you.
allow tripods. That's
Yeah,
right.
so those
That's
are the
right.
two things about botanical garden that
Got to be careful about.
Yes, exactly.
I find too, you go to a lot of wildlife refuges, national parks,
Yes.
and at visitor centers, they often have
Oh, yes.
landscaping. Some of my best macro comes within feet of visitor centers
Yes.
because they've got specific
true.
plantings to highlight many of the different flowers and bushes and plants there. So, just kind of to kind of wrap up our discussion today, some great resources to learn about insects or reptiles. There's a great series that talks about insect behavior because a lot of times you see the signs of insects and then realize, oh, this might be a good spot to
Yes.
look. Books on what kind of host plants for butterflies
Yes.
and moths.
Yeah.
Some friends of mine have written those for Texas. But
nice.
if you do your searching, there's a lot. In fact, at the Princeton book tables right next to our
Yes.
booth, he's got the new field guide for velvet ants of North America. Oh my gosh, huge volume for that. So if you do your research, there's a lot of great books on entomology out there on insects. So learning how to find them, different beetles are in different habitats, and knowing what's around you will really help because you're up in
So
New
important.
Hampshire.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
very
in West
different.
Texas, very different, and so finding those things
Yes.
are going to be different, right?
Yes, for sure.
So one last final macro recommendation for the folks at home?
Very easy. You invested into a lens, a great camera, a lot of gear. You're going out there and practicing. Invest in workshops because I think when you're out there and you have professionals like Lee, like Chris, like Lisa, like myself that are going to be here and guide you, and we can show you this is what I do. That doesn't mean that you have to do the same,
That's
but
right.
then you get different professional photographers who are going to show you their style. We all have different styles. We all
Yes,
shoot
yes.
differently. We all have, things that we like on the camera that we use. So that's one thing that I would recommend. If you can, then maybe you don't have to come with us. You can go to your local camera store, a camera club, and go out with other people and learn from them. That's what I would say. And macro photography is really fun too when you go
Yeah.
and shoot with other people. I really like that. So yeah, that would be my advice. Go out with other people, invest in being in the field with people who have been photographing for many, many years, especially if you're a beginner with macro photography. And
Yeah.
send us questions because we're always here to answer. Instagram, YouTube, if you put any comments on the link below, I'll be checking all the questions. So,
Yeah.
and Lee, you're always answering questions as well.
I try.
So.
I try. I know I'm behind guys on comments. I was in Cuba where there was no service and Patagonia with limited, so I'm working to get caught up, and I sure will. And when she talked about workshops, it made me think, if you want to go to Panama, Chris McGinnis, another OM System ambassador, and myself are doing dart frogs, insects, lots of macro plus birds and mammals.
That's gonna be amazing.
Then you and Lisa
Lisa.
have your nature photography retreat in New
That's true,
Hampshire,
New Hampshire.
which is going to have some great macro opportunities. I've got a Texas workshop that is for macro,
yes.
where we go to the Butterfly Center. We go all great destinations. And we've got a Costa Rica trip where Bender leads that does a lot of
yes.
macro. Jennifer will
Fantastic.
be in Grand Teton in spring, which you're just getting kind of started with some macro opportunities up there. So we have a lot of workshops. We're not just birds, we're a lot of other things. And so we've got several great opportunities, some OM only, some not. So take a look at those on the Wildside website. It's always great to be with you, my friend.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm so glad we get to spend time together in Ohio. if you guys are in Ohio, you should come over at the biggest week and come and
Yes.
say hi, because we had the
We're at the booth. We're
We
at the
at the
booth.
booth.
Come see us at the Wildside Nature Tours booth. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, guys.